It all started when we had our major fights, as she was pretty upset with me that I accused her of having multiple dinner dates with another boy. It was a fine Sunday afternoon when I got a call from one of my best buddies from high school. We had been together for 8 years and it had been a while since I heard his voice. He seemed pretty concerned and upset about something, yet he managed to conceal it over call and requested me to meet him over dinner. Since I was busy, I humbly declined and requested that we catch up next week. His voice was concerning and was insistent on me to come over and have a little chat. After he requested that much, finally I agreed to meet him the same day, but this time I jokingly said, "Dinner is on you." He, in contrary, was in no mood for a joke. This also took me off guard, as I assumed he might have had an emergency at his home or some sort of an incident that he wanted to tell me in person, so I got a bit concerned and curious. As I parked my car outside his home, I was pretty serious because of the way he sounded on the telephone, so I went up to his door and rang the bell. He greeted me, but he did not seem very enthusiastic about it. Upon my asking, he said he'll definitely share everything. How about we sit somewhere more quiet and private? I said sure, and we ventured off to a nearby rooftop cafe where we ordered our coffee. After having a formal catch-up, he started off by asking me a question. He said, "How is your relationship with your wife, and what if I tell you something that might change the foundations of your relationship? Would you trust on such a news?" I was very much puzzled on this out of the blue question and a very strange request, as this was not his usual behavior. He was basically a jokester among us friends, and I never had thought he would be the one asking such a serious question. This kinda rang my alarm bell, and I instantly sat up straight and asked right away, "What are you implying, and what is this question all about?" After hearing concern in my tone, he also got the vibe that now I'm pretty serious. He said, "Bro, you know that I have never lied to you and always have the best interest of you in mind, and you know me of years. Now the news that I'm going to tell you is something that may not bring joy to you, but I believe as a best friend and old buddy, it is my responsibility to tell you everything that I know. So please don't get upset and think it through before you make any decision. Last week while I was in my office, my wife and I were sitting in a cafe with a really young boy having a coffee. They were having what seemed like an intimate conversation while holding hands, and she was laughing and joking around. At first I assumed this might be a professional connection, but I was very much shocked to see her again with the same boy in the cafe, again holding hands and having a conversation. What took me by surprise was when they got up, they both hugged each other and he gave her flowers. So I thought it's better that you should also know this, and if my assumption is right, she's definitely cheating behind your back. It was hard for me to believe all this since we had a really good relationship, and it was highly unlikely that she would go out of her way to date another boy. Since she was a professional marketing manager, it was common for her to meet other people. So I just briefly thanked my friend and said it definitely looked into that. When she came in the evening, I asked her how her day was. She told me everything about her new projects and how excited she was for this new event that was coming next month. She told me everything apart from that tiny detail that she met a boy at a cafe near my friend's office. This got me suspicious, but I kept the information to myself and basically forgot it with time. We were very good friends, and I still remember how we met for the first time. I was an ice cream seller at a nearby theme park. She was there with her friends. While I was giving her ice cream, I was explaining to her in a funny way all the best rides to take in the park. She was amused by my non-native accent. While she was leaving, she accidentally forgot her cell phone at my counter. After a couple of hours, I saw her leaving the park, so I immediately ran after her and gave her the phone, telling her jokingly if my number had been there, so she wouldn't have had such a problem. She laughed and said, "Why don't you put it in there for good luck?" I also laughed and we exchanged our contacts. This is how our story started. She was a professional while I was still studying and doing odd jobs to support my education. She used to come to the theme park each weekend, and we used to have a really good time together. I loved her smile and the way she made me happy and how comfortable we were together. I was falling for her madly. Just 6 months in and I proposed her for marriage. First, she hesitated by saying that "you really don't know me." Then on my pleading, she finally agreed and we got married within weeks. A new chapter of our life began, and so began the new challenges. Right after graduation, I got busy after being selected as product manager in a textile company. My work shift was 12 hours and had to move 5 kilometers daily, so it was now a challenge to give my wife proper time. Yet I managed and tried my best to do so on each weekend, but now that I look back, it was not enough. In fact, it was never enough. Just 6 months in and we were already having our disagreements. She was a strong advocate of being a feminist and had a confronting personality. Soon differences became disagreements. The sad thing was that she was a verbal person when it came to fighting. This used to hurt me a lot. Me being an introvert used to keep quiet. Besides, her salary was double that of mine, and she was very vocal about it. Well, days were passing by. Just after 8 months, I got a promotion and became a senior supervisor. My salary doubled. I felt a hint of jealousy in her, yet we celebrated by traveling to Manhattan. I tried to repair our relationship, or at least that's what I had assumed. Then, as my friend told me about another cafe encounter, I got pretty conscious. Next week, he called again and told me the same scenario, and then it became a regular thing. He used to give me updates as they were meeting every other day. So one day, I planned to follow her and to confront her myself and ask for the reason behind this betrayal. As my friend told me the time, I went there 15 minutes prior to when they arrived and to see who the actual boy was, and to my surprise, it was one of my old fellows from the same theme park where I used to work. It was a very heartbreaking moment to see her with him, all giggling, smiling, and laughing. Despite me wanting to confront her, I just left that place with a heavy heart. On my way back, I was contemplating what I had done wrong with her to get this sort of punishment. It was the moment of my life when the time just stopped. Since we were spending little to no time together, it was even more painful for me to understand how much time she might be spending with him or giving him attention. It had started to eat me from inside, so I started to go to therapy and discuss this all with my doctor. But it was of no use because he was only trying to calm me down. While on the other hand, I wanted to confront her, so I came up with a plan. I shifted my duty to nighttime, and in the day I started following her to collect evidence of what was going on with her. The most surprising thing was that the boy had joined her marketing firm and they both were working together and spending all the time with each other, working on different events. I called my friend and told him about this stuff, and I was almost on the verge of breakdown as I had no idea what to do and what step to take next. He's under concern of my own, so he asked me to come over to discuss this all through to come up with a solid plan. When he met, he said, "Bro, I had told you from the very start that she is a social butterfly and can be settled with anybody who has more money or energy than you, but you were not very cautious about it. Now you can see the fruits of your actions. Well, let's put this all behind and let's set up something to make sure that she actually is cheating and catch her red-handed." So we came up with a plan to follow her to this boy's home and catch them both. So we waited for the right day, and this time my friend was actively looking and following her, and when the time came, they both were in the same cafe having coffee. Since it was Sunday, we had assumed that he might take her home, and we were right in this regard. So after the evening, he called me and set the plane in motion and instructed me to join me at Alfred Plaza. I was there within 10 minutes, and as we got together and started to follow their car, After like 19 minutes of drive, they both entered this apartment, and just after 15 minutes, me and my friend went up to the apartment and rang the bell, and as he opened the door, my wife was sitting there in a very comfortable dress. She was shocked to see me there. I pushed him aside and entered his apartment and said to my wife, I knew this all was happening from the very start, yet I tried my best to repair our relationship. But you had betrayed me and stabbed me in the back. Now I don't see any point in us continuing any further. If you have decided this is your future, so be it. Would be better if you don't come home from now. My house is no longer yours. I will send the divorce papers to your parents' house along with your whole stuff. She was horrified and bewildered to see me suddenly standing there and saying all this, and she had shock in her tone and started to cry. At first, she was accusing me of staying busy all the time. Then she started to plead and request me not to take such extreme measures. I said this is just the beginning and you have no idea what I have planned ahead. So I just left her there standing, and as I came back, the first thing I did was to change the locks, and the very next day I sent the divorce papers with a lawsuit against her. Her parents were also very much concerned, as they were on very good terms with me and I respected them a lot, and they loved me as their own son. This happened so instantly that even I was sad to experience it, but nothing could be done. So I called her mom and told her everything and how hard I had tried to repair our relationship, and I had spent so much to take her to exotic locations and to do couple therapies. I did all my best in position to make her happy, yet she cheated on me and left me in scars. Just because I was busy most of the time. But what I had not understood was that all I did and all that I had worked for was just for her happiness and hers alone, and there was no other motive besides to make her life even more comfortable. On the other hand, she was very simply exploring more options. Her mother was also very sad to hear all this. Fast forward 2 months, the court decision came in my favor, and the property that we bought mutually and all the investments that we did together were now all given to me. And she was proven guilty, to which she was very much concerned, as her 8 years of life savings were now named to me. She pleaded to me, profusely apologized to me, and requested me not to take her hard-earned money. I said, what about all those savings that I spent on your happiness? While you were exploring these better options and having fun? There were tears in her eyes, yet I was determined in my decision. And I just said that I won't be taking this money myself. I will give it all to an orphanage, but this lesson should be something that will always stay with you. Good luck trying this again.